I did my 8 hours of observations between 3 sites. I went to Kensett Elementary, Augusta Elementary School, and the Sunshine School. I thoroughly enjoyed all 3 locations and I learned a lot from each location. I started at Augusta and I went K through 4. And I went to Kensett Elementary School and I did 5th and 6th grade. And then I went to the Sunshine School and I was put in the pre-K kindergarten room. My first observation was kindergarten at Augusta Elementary School, and my teacher was Miss Edom. She was doing her morning lesson when I walked in, and she guided me to the back table and showed me where to sit. She was very welcoming and explained everything to me. Her room was a little messy and unorganized, and I feel like this made the room more chaotic with the students and just the overall feel of the classroom. Each child was at their own individual desk with a storage compartment on the side. This I did really like because this gives the children a sense of organization and responsibility to keep up with all of their own belongings. Her punishment was on a clip chart. The students responded to this very well. Overall, her classroom was a good experience, and I enjoyed watching her teach and watching her interact with her students. I did my first grade observation at Augusta Elementary School as well, and my teacher was Miss Taylor. When we first came in, she was doing shared reading with the students. The desks were arranged into groups, and each desk had their own compartment, so they kept their own items in their own desk. She had very strict rules, and they all respected her very much. They knew the rules, and they knew that they had to follow the rules no matter what. And she was very stern and carried out with her discipline. She did a lot of activities with the students, and it made learning fun. And they loved her class, and they loved her, and they were always eager to do new things and to do her learning activities with her. And this really helped the environment of the classroom, and it helped her relationship with the students because they got along really well. She also gave the students jobs, and this made them feel important, and this also helped with the environment of the classroom. They all helped out each other and really worked as a team, and I really enjoyed observing in this classroom because she was a great teacher and the students really enjoyed her. I also observed for my second grade observation at Augusta Elementary School, and my teacher was Miss Madison. She was very sweet and welcoming and talked to us as we came in her classroom. They were working at their desk individually when we came in, so she had a few minutes just to talk to us until they finished their work. She only had 13 students, and this was good for her because she got to pay attention to each student individually. And I felt like this helped her students learn a lot better. And they were very I don't know what to say. Okay, cut that out. After the students finished their bell work, she went up to the board and put the paper on the board and went over it with them. She made sure that each student understood why an answer was the way it was, and she explained every detail to them. She had a good schedule laid out, and she went from one thing to the next very smoothly. Her schedule was easygoing, but she fit a lot of stuff into one time period, and I really liked this about her. The students knew her schedule because it was the same every day, and her classroom had a really good flow to it. My third grade observation was also done at Augusta Elementary School, and my teacher was Miss Moore. She was very friendly and talked to us as we came in, and explained what the students were doing and why they were doing it and how they do the same thing every morning. She had a behavior chart, and when the students misbehaved, they all had sticks with their name, and they were to go pull a stick when they misbehaved. And she said that this worked really well for her, and the students responded very well to this. The students' desks were in groups, and her classroom had 4 groups of the desk, and each group was a color. And so everything in her classroom went along with the colors. They, as a whole group, they got points on the board, and also she had a bookshelf in the middle of all the groups, and that's where all of their markers and pencils and everything that they needed were all organized there, and they were color coded so that each group knew where their individual belongings were. She had clear rules and the students respected her. She had a good flow to her classroom, and it was very enjoyable to observe in. My 4th grade observation was the last observation that I did at Augusta Elementary School, and my teacher was Miss Brown. She was the math teacher in 4th grade. Her classroom was very well laid out. All the students were at desk, and when we went in, they were doing their morning bell work on their tablets, and they all had individual ones. The teachers made sure that the students were taking care of their individual tablets. They had to carry them in their backpack with them all day and make sure they take them home so they were able to do their homework. One thing that really stuck out to me in her classroom was on her back wall. She had something that was called Super Mathematicians, and she got to honor the students that did really well in her class. So when they did good on a test or a good assignment or something, she would put their work up there and who it was, and this gave the students motivation, and it gave other students motivation to reach that level so that they could be on the board. Overall, her students were very well behaved, and they had good interaction between the student and the teacher, and this room was really enjoyable. I went to Kensett Elementary School to conduct my 5th grade observation, and my teacher for 5th grade was Miss Ellis. She was a math teacher, and when I went in, they were doing their morning bell work. She had a microphone around her neck, so she spoke softly, and there was a speaker on the other side of the room which projected her voice, and the students could hear her more clearly. They were learning about fractions and reciprocals, so a little bit later in the classroom, after they had reviewed over this, she split them into groups, and each group was given a problem. Their assignment was to finish and work out the problem, and once they did that, the group had to come up to the board and show the rest of the class how to work out this problem. All around, this assignment was very good. They had to use teamwork, and they had to go up in front of the class, which helped them with speaking in front of others, and they also learned about their math lesson and how to work it out exactly. My 6th grade observation was also done at Kensett Elementary, and my teacher was Mr. Wallace. He was the math and science teacher for 6th grade, and while I was in there, he was teaching math. They were learning word problems and how to put the numbers into charts and graphs. His schedule was, as I said, he taught math and science, and so in the morning he had 2 math classes, and after lunch he had 2 science classes. So it was a pretty small school, so they only had 2 classes in that grade, and he would teach math and switch with the other teacher and teach math again, and after lunch he would get science and do the same thing. He was a very good teacher. He gave examples to the students, and he would work out a problem on the board, and then they were given an assignment, and they would work out the problem individually at their desk. And when they were done working it out at their desk, he would call on them one by one to come up to the board and fill out the chart and graph. And the students really liked this, and they seemed to learn well with this method. My last observation was done at the Sunshine School, and this was my favorite observation of all of them. It was in the pre-K kindergarten classroom, and I learned so much from these students. One boy was fed through a tube, and so he had certain accommodations, and the teachers in there were all very, very sweet. The lead teacher, her name was Miss Palno, and there was two other teachers in there at the day I was in there. Each student leaves at different times and gets therapy for certain things. They split up. There was 3 students in there at the time and 3 teachers, so they split off into a teacher and a student lesson, and each student had a basket in the classroom, and they had individual lessons that they were learning, and some would do flashcards, and some would do other lessons that really just went along with their particular issue, and this helped them grow as a person. And this room was very enjoyable to watch, and the teachers were all very, very good with the students, and they responded well to them.